Well, welcome to our podcast, Vandon. It is
Nice to
wonderful.
have you.
It's wonderful to have you on our podcast.
Thank
Uh,
you.
it's yeah, it's how you've been coming to classes and doing qigong and decided to dip your toe in the Bagua reality and yeah, it's great to have you on our podcast. Love to uh, talk more about your experiences.
Yeah, Cool. you're a Yeah, personal thanks trainer, for having me. because you're a personal trainer, right? So Yeah. tell us about what you do, and then we can segue into how you got interested into coming to our classes.
Yeah,
Sure. So I am owner of Moon Dragon Fitness, which is a personal training service. I work with clients one on one, working mostly on strength development and cardio and mobility. And also, I incorporate martial arts to certain clients who are interested in that as well. So, I like to have the flexibility of meeting each client's not just what they need, but also what they find fun and interesting, because part of making good habits is keeping them. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And if
yes.
if
So
you're
that
not having fun, then you don't want to form the habit. yeah. So that's mostly what I do with my personal training service. I also do offer two public classes at a local park, and those are group sessions. But outside of that, everything I do is pretty much one on one. Nice.
nice.
Well, that's good. So you're able to give that personal touch then to Yeah. people that you work with.
So
Nice.
so this is how long have you been doing the personal training?
I've been doing the personal training for it's about 6 or 8 months now,
Okay,
as an actual certified personal trainer with my own business, Moon Dragon Fitness.
gotcha.
Prior to that, I've actually been running a cardio class for almost 10 years.
Oh wow,
Um, and it's the same one that I do in the park. Okay. It's been every Tuesday and Saturday morning for almost 10 years. There was a period of time where I only did Saturday, but it was kind of a traveling class I took to like different martial arts schools,
okay,
and I would offer it to the students there.
oh,
And
neat.
then I did do it on my own for a little bit when I wasn't actually a certified personal trainer. But I got certified through NASM, which is National Academy of Sports Medicine, actually during COVID, and created my own LLC, Moon Dragon Fitness, and now I'm autonomous and I just do it myself.
Cool,
That's excellent.
right on.
So tell me more about the cardio class because it sounds interesting to me. I know you've mentioned it before, and I want to know, Yeah. what do you do in it? So I love my cardio class. It's very kind of a personal thing. So over the years, it's changed. Its first incarnations when I was running it out of Myerstown, um, which is a town in my area. There was a martial arts school there that I ran it out of, and this school had a ramp that went outside, and it also had a rock wall
Oh,
that
neat.
was maybe waist high, and where it was a hill at the end of the alley. So my cardio class was running up the hill and coming down and doing push-ups or squats or jumps off the wall, and
Oh,
then running back into the studio where there was punching bags. And in between all that, there could be a menagerie of push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, and I just come up with different stuff all the time. Um, and currently, the current incarnation where we do it in the park, I have what my clients lovingly refer to as the cards of doom, which is it's a stack of about a 4 inch high stack of cards that have different exercises on them. And what I do is I have the participants pick out two
mm,
to three cards at a time, Oh and yeah.
okay.
then we'll run those in a circuit for about 2 minutes, and then we take like a 30-second rest, and then we run them again, and then I'll have them pick new cards, and then we'll do that again. And then
Right.
I also set up a circle where I put a plyo box, I put resistance bands, a steel mace, a slam ball, uh, and also just cones where people run sprints or do little drills on. And there's a nice size hill at the park where we do. At the end of every session, I give everybody the option to do 5 straight or 3 on the hill. So it's 5 sprints straight or 3 sprints on the hill.
Wow.
Right.
And
Okay.
and
Yeah.
they mix it up. Like
Yeah.
there's some that are like, we haven't done it in the hill in a while. And I do it by vote. So
Yeah.
it's up to
Right.
them. The way I do it, I kind of, with the cards and everything, it's like the participants have a hand in really what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything we're doing is ultimately their own choosing in a way.
Yeah.
So they can't really,
Yeah.
go, no, I don't want to do that. It's like, oh wait, I picked that.
But
Hold on a
yeah.
second.
But that's fun. Like I used to make those cards. We didn't call them cards of doom though, but like when I was a gymnastics coach, I used to make cards like that all the time with little pictures, especially if kids couldn't read yet, like if they were little. And then we'd have stations, and that's kind of fun to do because you get the cardio and you're doing the muscular endurance like all at the same time, it sounds like. And it is fun when you get to choose, right? Because then you can grumble about what you pick, but then it's sort of everyone's there to work out and do their thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be coming to class if they weren't interested in you know being fit or doing it. So that sounds like fun. Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
No, no, yeah.
The one martial arts school I used to be running this class in had a lot of punching bags around the room, and that's where the cards actually started because I made these cards up and I would put them underneath each bag, which were stations along the circuit. And then, we'd hit the bags and then I'd yell cards. And then whatever card was at your station, you had to do that until I yelled, you
Oh,
know, get
yeah,
up,
yeah,
back on the bags, and then
yeah.
cards, back on the bags. And
Yeah.
Right on.
So what other martial arts did you do before? Because you like that you've practiced before.
I started when I was about 12 in Isshinryu Karate.
Hmm.
Uh, I did that for about 3 years or so. And then I switched to a school called Warfield Martial Arts, which is kind of more of a mixed martial arts school. It has a conglomeration of a lot of different things um,
Yep.
that Joe Warfield had been exposed to during his life, and it was it was more kung fu than karate, but it wasn't really deep kung fu. It
Right.
wasn't deep structural kung fu. It was more of a fight school, to be quite
Right.
honest.
Gotcha.
In fact, when he started his own school, it was called Dragon Masters Academy, which was literally let's get together and fight. Before it became a martial arts school, it was just he was young. He's one of those people that was just a naturally gifted fighter. He was a competitive boxer, and he just kind of went around to different martial arts schools and learned different things and threw it together into a system.
Hmm.
I did that for quite a while. I also myself got into a local boxing club for a little bit, maybe about a year or so. And then a lot of life changes and things that took me in other directions. And then when I came back to martial arts, I came back to Warfield Martial Arts again. And I studied and taught there for about 10 years.
Wow.
And then I also got into, had about a 2 year period where I got into Pai Lum Kung Fu. And I kind of enjoyed it. There were some structural elements that my other school didn't have, but
Right.
I felt like those structural elements weren't really fully explained. Um,
Good.
and then I also then got into Hapkido, and I got my black belt in Hosinsol Hapkido, and then was back at Warfield Martial Arts again. And around that time, I started just doing some research and looking deeper into everything that's available on the wide web. And I found Neil Ripsky at Red Jade Martial Arts, and his ability to explain things and really like he had a way of just opening wide the book.
Mm.
And it was all these things. Like I've been doing martial arts at this point probably, oh man, pretty much most of my life since I was 12 with a little bit of, and I'm 45 now. So the it was just like all these concepts and principles of sinking energy and coiling energy and penetrating energy and really understanding what form was rather than just copying steps and motions,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
how a form can be studied, like a book, how slow application of form is like really getting into the structure, and then
Yes.
actually expressing Fajing through a form as well, and
Yep.
just
Mhm.
so many things that really just my mind just exploded. It's like, wow, here's truly genuinely traditional Chinese martial arts
Yeah. Right.
explained with a level of creativity as well. Like Neil was just really like, play with this stuff. Don't feel like you have to dogmatically copy. Um,
Yeah.
Yep.
I could go on and on
That's
about
why you and I get along so well.
I was gonna say
yeah.
the three of you all sound very similar,
Hmm.
and like, because when you were talking about your background in martial arts, how you've learned different things, and it's kind of like you've taken a lot of different things
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
Kelly.
Between judo and,
And
and boxing,
yeah,
and I did Hapkido, Aikido, three different styles of karate: Kempo karate, Shotokan, some Goju, and yeah, shopped around, and um, one of the mainstays was my Kempo karate, and then I found Bagua, and like the rest is history. So
yeah. And you guys all like to share knowledge, like that's the one thing that I love about hearing the conversations or just talking, because you all seem that you really just want to teach people things, because really it's the individual. Like, you can give someone like a lot of knowledge, but it depends what they're going to do with
yep.
it, right?
I think I'm thinking about this now, and my discovery with Neil was very much so to start with a self-validating thing, because I had the benefit of, being at Warfield Martial Arts for as long as I was. I got to the point where he would literally just not even come into the school, and I was running it like all the time. And I was teaching all the classes and I was running everything. And there was only a handful of forms in the program. So I got to the point where I was really like, you know, really getting into it, because there comes a point where it either gets bored or you start just digging deeper.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with
Yes.
all the movements and the forms we had, I'm like, oh wow, there's this other level to this, especially in the applications, because we
Hmm.
did a lot of,
Cool.
multiple different application uses of the forms. And I would always be working with an opponent and being like, oh wow, there's this too. And then there's this. And I
Yeah.
was literally just kind of making all this. Can we curse on here? I don't
If you want
know.
to.
Maybe we should,
Go
So
ahead.
I was like making all this shit up in a way. Like I would kept finding different things because I was sort of on my own in a sense. And it was good and bad. Like in many ways, I felt like I wish I had a teacher still, but I kind of didn't. So I kind of had to be my own teacher in a way and like take with the content deeper and play with it. And then when I found Neil, and a lot of his stuff was it was validating, like, oh wow, so this is a thing. Because sometimes I'm like, am I just losing my mind that I'm just starting to make shit up?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely had those moments where I'd be throwing in all different new stuff that I was just kind of making up, but it worked. Like this will work in an application.
Hmm.
uh but it was a validation to be like, no, like this is actually, you know, really study a deeper study of what we're talking about, feeling the body and getting really in tune with it. And then in martial arts, it's how that connects to the other, right? The opponent, and moving that energy back and forth that way.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and
Mhm.
that comes down to something where I don't know if we talked about it earlier already or before we started the podcast, but about being playing, like being creative. like
Yep.
what Neil said. I think you actually did say it. What Neil said is like to be playing with it. You can learn
Yeah.
a form and you can get stuck on like,
Yep.
I want to make
Yep.
my form perfect,
hmm
or you can play with it. And that's
And
as adults, like,
understand the structure and the roots and the
yeah, like playing is something that we sort of go, oh, you know, we're grown-ups, we shouldn't be playing. But that's the fun part, I think, of this whole thing is like that's something I know we miss, and I know that our participants miss, not being able to do classes in person,
yeah
is applications.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
being
Oh
able
yeah, the
to
variety of
play around with it, or you know, sort of spar with someone who's like taller than you, or you know,
different
well, for
size
me
shapes.
everyone's taller than me, so it's not like I ever, you know, even my children now are all way taller than me, so it's not like,
One of
but you know,
the most important lessons I ever got was my Bagua teacher Mark telling me when I asked him, so what's the secret to learning Bagua? And he's like, just play with it. And it took me about a year to go, what? It's like,
what does that mean?
how do you play with kung fu?
What
Like
does
it's
that
not
mean?
Play-Doh, right? It's just like, how do you do that? And then one day I saw him warming up for class, and I saw him go through about 20 different variations of Green Dragon stretches claws. And I just sort of like my brain melted and went out my, dripped out my ear, and I just went, oh, that's he's
There you
playing with
go.
it.
Yeah.
He's playing with that one movement, and I was just, mind blown as to, and then everything that he had said, and that, up until that point about how you just do the movement, and it'll turn into whatever you need it to be.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to play with it, and just play with the movement, just play with the movement over and over and over again. And I was just like, oh, right. And then so like one of the first application classes, I was watching him warm up, and then we did application, and he picked three. I saw easily 20 or 30 variations of that one movement, and he picked three variations of it, as in height, expansion, and distance,
Yeah.
right? And because he was just doing it like really, 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 really small, really, really big, or just or really open. And I was just like, what? That's not. Part of my brain was like,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's not Green Dragon stretches claws. It's like, because it's not perfect. And I'm going, right.
Yeah. Well, and that's something when I started taking classes with you, that was one thing like we would do, and because in gymnastics, like you do need to learn refinement, like to be so precise, so you're not gonna, you know, fall off the balance beam or slip off the
Yeah.
bars,
Yo.
right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I would get stuck going, okay, but when we're doing
How
the
do I perfect
form,
it?
this is how we do it, and then when we do applications, I'm like, but we have to do it like this, and you'd constantly be like, no, just like it's not, you're not meant to like do it perfectly
Yeah.
when you're doing it. You have to find your way of doing this,
Yeah.
because especially if I'm, you know,
Oh yeah.
doing it with
Well,
someone who's way taller or
yeah. Like
bigger or
when
whatever,
we're
I
at
have to find my way of doing it. And it was like learning how to play with that, because I just made a realization as we were talking that I think after I quit not coaching but competing in gymnastics and training all the time, I never learned how to play again with something else until
Yeah.
I started to do bagua, because gymnastics is kind of playing. You really do have to play around with it. You can watch people, you can hear them give you instruction, but when you're manipulating your body to do something, you have to play with it until you get it.
yeah. Until you
And
learn.
that's a
Yeah.
kind of playing that I don't think I made the, you know, I just
I
did.
have